Welcome to TV3. I'm your host, TV3, and on this week's episode, we're talking about some hot Lambos. There's a new zombie bugman. I get to talk about my favorite video game, and of course, we'll round out the episode by answering some of your comments and questions in the feedback section. As always, if you want to introduce a future installment of TV3, you can always do so by sending in your intros to my email address over at typeb3@gmail.com. With that said, let's get this show started. Transformers are headlining the news section this week as the recently revealed MP39 Autobot Sunstreaker is the latest to get a Masterpiece Edition. Now, this robot looks super cool. It is, of course, the Lamborghini Countach in yellow with a modified engine block. I love this alt mode. I love the look of the robot, and ever since they released Sideswipe way back when, I've been waiting for his Lambo brother to finally take the stage, and here he is. The only thing I will say is that Transformers Masterpiece has taken an aesthetic shift lately where they've become very anime inspired or cartoon stylized, as opposed to Sideswipe, one of the first in the rebooted Masterpiece lineup. It had more of a hybrid realistic to cartoony stylization, and so it's going to be weird putting Sunstreaker beside Sideswipe, because even though it's the same toy line, I know they're going to look a little bit aesthetically different, kind of the way that MP10 Optimus Prime looks a little more, let's say, realistic versus the super cartoony MP36 Megatron. Nevertheless, I have no doubt that this toy is going to be cool, and the reason I say that is because they fixed the one issue I had with the Sideswipe alt mode, and that is they gave proper rear undercarriage to the Lambo, and that makes me happy because I'm probably one of the few collectors of these toys who will say that I care about the licensed vehicle that much more than the actual robot. So maybe I'm crazy, but that's what I'm into. Alright, this next item is a Gundam related item, and it comes from Bandai's Tamashii Nation's collector division, and they are releasing a fixed metal composite 1:100 scale Wing Gundam Zero EW. Now, basically, for those who don't know, this is a completed action figure that's very similar to a metal build, and I think it looks great. But I do have one weird concern about it, or something I want to address. Bandai's hobby division, the side that's responsible for Gundam model kits, have shown off that they are also releasing a 1:100 Wing Gundam Zero under their high-res toy line, and I just think it's super weird that both sides of Bandai, their hobby side and their collector division side, are deciding to release a Wing Gundam Zero in the same scale at the what I can only assume is around about the same time. Now, which would I choose? I personally love the look of the high res, but when push comes to shove, I'd much rather put my money or spend my money on the completed metal action figure. So yeah, I'm not really too sure what to think about this. It's like Bandai's internal division just clearly don't speak to one another, and I don't know what they're trying to do. Maybe I'm just wrong, and the love for Wing Gundam Zero EW is just so great that both of these are gonna sell. Yeah, that's probably it. Next up, Revoltech, and I gotta say, Revoltech have been making an amazing push with their Marvel licensed characters, and the latest one they've revealed is Wolverine, and boy does he look incredible. Wolverine looks awesome. This is like the Wolverine that you wanted if you loved Marvel vs. Capcom and you really needed a Wolverine figure to represent that edition of Logan, and I think this figure looks awesome. The Revoltech joints allow it to do some really dynamic poses. Like I've mentioned in the past, I'm not the biggest Revoltech fan. I've just never been a fan of their joint system, but I won't deny that this figure looks great, and it probably will be great and make for some awesome display poses. If you're super big into comics, this is something that I don't think you're going to want to pass up. I mean, Wolverine is arguably one of the most popular, if not the most popular Marvel character, and what's there not to love about this figure? Alright, now I know a lot of you have been asking me to give my comments on Kamen Rider, or at least cover Kamen Rider a bit more, and so next up we have a story from Bandai under their SH Figuarts X-Aid line, and they are releasing the Zombie Gem Level X, or Level 10, depending on how you want to do it. Now this is by far, or at least at the time of this recording, my favorite design from X8. I just love the color scheme. I love the asymmetry to it. I especially love his visor, how it's red, but it's cracked so that the one eye shows. He's going to be coming with I think they're like tonfa scythes that he got from Laser, that dude. Anyway, this figure looks awesome. If I only get one SHVU art from X8, this might be it. I feel like I should get the pink hero one, but I won't deny that this is my favorite suit design from the show, and I definitely want to pick this up. Alright, last up is news from Bandai's Tamashii Mix line, and they are releasing a figure called Giga Armor X. Now, this is Rockman X or Mega Man X, depending on where you are in the world, and he looks heavily stylized. I actually hate the way he looks. He looks like someone just was asked to make something cool, but then they just never put the pencil down and kept drawing lines everywhere. I think that Base X under this line looks awful, and I have thought that for a long time, ever since they showed the prototype to this way back when. However, recently we got a second image of this thing here called the Ride Chaser, and the Ride Chaser, while the only image we have is X riding it, I have no doubt in my mind that this actually is going to separate and become the armor, thus giving you Giga Armor X. The only thing, or the one thing I'll say, is that Giga Armor X is commonly known as the armor from Mega Man X2 on the Super Nintendo, and I do not see this at all resembling that armor, so I don't know what this is supposed to be. It's definitely some heavy stylization and design liberties have been taken. I can't wait to see what this looks like with the armor on, if that's what it is, which I'm positive it's just extra armor for him to put on. So right now I remain curious but not interested. Who knows, the fully armored version, if that is again a thing, may convince me otherwise. So this week I picked up one new item, and that is this. It is the Figma main character, or as he's known as Yuki Makoto from Persona 3, and this is by far my favorite video game of all time. It's on the PS2, Japanese RPG, super hard and frustrating at times, but I love the story and I love the characters, and I always wanted more cast members to be made from the series. A long time ago, Good Smile released a couple figures of the two robot girls in the series, Aegis and Metis, as well as the dog Koromaru, but I always wanted the main character, and here he is finally. It's taken, I don't know, the game came out way back in 2006, so over a decade. Man, that's a long time ago. And I'm super pumped to have it. I hope that they continue on and make more characters from the cast. If they don't, I would say maybe just Yukari and Junpei, because I feel like those are the two ones who would best fit in with the main character. But yeah, I mean, pumped to have this, can't wait to open it up, and yeah. It's always a good day when your favorite video game gets collectible merch. Alright, we've gone to the feedback section, and the first question comes from Bailey Z. Kerr. What do you want the next perfect grade to be? Personally, I'm holding out all hope for PG Sinanju. If it's not Sinanju, my money's on PG Barbatos. Now, it sounds like you're actually asking two different questions, and the first one is, what do I want the next PG to be? And what do I think the next PG will actually be? Now, I'm with you there. I think the next PG will be Barbatos. I have no doubt, just because Mobile Suit Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans was a huge success, and definitely one of the more popular Gundam series that I can recall in recent years, so I have no doubt it'll be the Barbatos, probably be Form 4 with options to make it Form 1, 2, or 3, and then of course there'll be an add-on pack so you can make it 5 or 6. That's how I see it. Or at least that's what I feel the next perfect grade will be. As for what do I want, well, I probably would love a perfect grade build strike, but the more I think about it, the more I don't actually want that, because it'll probably just be a modified version of the perfect grade strike that's kind of old by this point, and I don't really want an old perfect grade. So by that account, I would say I would love a perfect grade Amazing Exia, because Exia has not had a perfect grade, at least not to my knowledge. And I've always found that weird, because Exia is by far one of the most beloved mobile suits of all of Gundam. I mean, I know the 00 was probably more popular, but lately I've been seeing this huge resurgence for the just standard Exia suit or the Quanta, and I've always been surprised that the Exia itself never got a perfect grade release. Of course, 00, a lot of people are probably getting 00 fatigue, and so if that doesn't happen, I won't be surprised. And so my offshoot pick, or the one that I would just go shoot for the stars, is a Camphor. I would love a perfect grade Camphor. I think that would be super cool. What figure do you think you get the most bang for your buck? Well, that's, it's actually a really easy question for me to answer. I still think that high-grade Gundam model kits are the best bang for your buck, but this comes with the caveat that you take into account that building the model as being part of the experience is part of what gives that added value. If you don't like actually building and you find it to be a chore, then I think you can throw model kits out the window. But for me personally, I think high-grade model kits, their combination of price, what you get out of the box, and the amount of effort and time you can put into building a high-grade kit has always been the best bang for your buck. It's the type of thing that I like. I generally like to buy high grades and maybe give them to friends or younger cousins for things to do, just because I feel like you can always get so much time and value out of it, because especially when you're older, as much as I wish I still could, I don't actually sit here and play with my toys going bang, bang, clang, clang. And so my idea of playing nowadays is restricted to posing and setting up elaborate scenes to put on display or building a model kit. So yeah, when it comes to value, I still think high-grade Gundam model kits are the best out there, and I can't think of anything else that sort of rivals that in terms of its value. Pay85 asks, how much distance do you ride when you go cycling per day? Pretty simple answer. On the weekdays, Monday through Friday, I try and put in around 30 kilometers to 50 kilometers, and on the weekends, I try to double that, so anywhere from 60 to 100 kilometers. The one caveat is that it's really just time dependent. I mean, as much as I would love to go out riding a lot every day, it's a huge time sink. And so at most, I generally only have, let's say, an hour and a half on the weekdays, and that gets me to about just under 40K. And on the weekends, I aim to go out there for 4 hours, but generally I come home around 3 hours because I just have other things I need to do. Yeah, for as much as I like cycling, it is a huge time sink, and there's other things in the world I also like doing, and so I can't always devote too much time to any one single thing. And lastly, as I was scrolling through the comments on last week's episode, I noticed that a lot of you guys had a lot to say on that Gyanko Gundam, or I suppose Bandai's take on Frame Arms Girl. And the one thing about Gyanko you all said was that forget Gyanko, give me a Shia. And a lot of you asked too, what would be better, a Shia Portent or the Shia Quanta? Now, personally, I would go with Quanta just because Shia has cat ears if she got the Quanta. That said, I feel like the Portent is far more representative of her character, especially because the Quanta was just like this offshoot in an OVA, whereas the Portent is, 100% Shia. A couple other options I saw out there were very, very cool. Ryan Walters said that he wants to see a Super Allenby / Nobel Gundam, and I thought that was just an awesome idea. But then it just made me think, well, wouldn't that just be a frame arm, or wouldn't that just be like a Super Fumina kit wearing a Sailor Moon uniform? And that kind of just made it a little more boring to me, because that's not really anything special when you think about it. But I suppose a beam ribbon would be nice. Another option I saw, and this one is actually the one that's closest to what I would want, comes from Lucas, and he writes, man, I would really want a Isla version of the Gundam Cross Heroine thing. They could call it Psycho Isla, and simply attach Cubule Papillon's wings and armor on Isla and call it a day. Now, I think that's a great idea, but for me, I think I would want Isla crossed with Miss Sazabi, just because I feel like those colors work better. I think the crown that the Miss Sazabi had is nice, and I would love her to come with 2 or more buns of bread, because that's probably Isla's best contribution to build fighters. Alright, and there you have it, another episode of TV3 over and done with. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, if you want to continue the conversation, you can do so by leaving a comment in the comment section below, and maybe I'll answer it next week. And speaking of next week, make sure you tune in on Monday night as the monthly edition of Toy Talk returns with Meads, Gabe, and hopefully Peter. If you don't check that out, well then I will see you guys in 2 weeks' time. Bye!